here on the steps of my companionway, working on the gray water pump. I'm Russ, sailing vessel Tautog. Current location is Fort Pierce, Florida, back in Faber Cove, the same place I was back in July on the way up. I stayed about two and a half weeks in this area on the way up, and now I'm going to stay a little bit more because freaking hurricane coming. Or maybe a tropical storm, but it's the European model shows it, I think, passing over us, and the GFS passes down by Fort Lauderdale. I don't know, and they're going to change. I get that, but we're kind of bracing for weather again. You know, next couple of days we're going to get more and more of the northeasterly winds, and we'll start getting rain. So that's like, you think hurricane season is kind of sort of over, but it's really not. And I maybe could have snuck across the Bahamas, but even if you thought you had a one-day window to cross, when you get there, now you got this tropical storm. So you don't want to have a storm immediately upon arrival in a new location. I thought I've anchored in Faber Cove before, and in a pretty good holding ground is awful mud, but it's awful to clean up anyway. But it holds pretty darn good, and I back down back full on the engine. Once I set the anchor and we didn't move an inch, and I've got my anchor ball tied up so people can see where my anchor is, because I figure more boats are going to try to sneak in here next day or two. Anyway, so let's talk a bit about my trip from Jacksonville down here. Stand by. Well, November 2, ready to get underway. We need to go single up all lines, start the motor, and shove off. So I believe I'm going to get 3 days of really good weather to get down to the Fort Pierce area, and I believe I'm going to pull into Fort Pierce, Faber Cove, because I believe over the weekend, in 3 days, we're going to start getting strong easterly winds, and I can't cross a Gulf Stream like that, not directly into the wind. So I'll sit tight in Faber Cove probably for up to a week, and shove off. I've already done my equipment checks, my diesel run up, all that stuff. The battery's fully charged. I got food laid out, got water laid out, drinks laid out, whatever. I think I've got everything that can be done. Well, there's not much more that's to say that hasn't already been said when you're looking at me driving the boat in protected waters on the engine, and just now left the dock, and I had 2 bridges to go in downtown Jacksonville, and that's downtown Jacksonville behind me there, and I had this guy to go past, hoping he didn't fill up and come downriver to get me, and then I just chugged on downriver, and it was a good trip. I was going with the currents, going pretty quickly. Got dredging. That tugboat pushing the dredge around has been zipping all over the place, so I'm kind of nervous about him. I'm well into the channel, and he's supposed to stay out of it, but you just never know. November 2, goodbye St. John's River. I'm now in the inlet to St. John's. I just passed the naval station back there. Not one single merchant ship passed me either way on the way up or on the way down the river. Nobody upbound, nobody downbound. When you see green over red, that's a junction buoy. This is a junction between the road going from out to sea, so consider this where you're coming from out to sea. The junction between the Mayport Naval Station channel, which is on the left, and the main channel, which is over here on the right. So that's the junction buoy, which I'm steering 095 right now, more or less, or 110. That's the channel course. And as soon as I get clear of the jetty, I hang a right and start heading south. Just to follow the coast. I'll get about 2 to 3 miles off course, off the coast, and then just parallel the coast the whole way. I ought to be able to just broad reach it the whole way. So I'm looking forward to a nice, easy afternoon sail. I hope so. Well, good morning. It's November 3 and the time is 7:41 in the morning. I am right off the coast, about 3.5 miles off the beach right now. Been riding the coast the whole night because I don't want any part of the Gulf Stream now, because the Gulf Stream is going the opposite direction. So I'm trying to stay close to land because a lot of times there are reverse, like counter currents that. A lot of times there are some counter currents that will actually help me go south if I stay close to the beach. So that's what we're hoping for. The winds are not great. I mean, I'm broad reaching, so I'm getting wind off my port quarter here. So sailing is easy in that I haven't had to adjust sails hardly at all. It's just that the wind is a little bit slower than I want. I don't want gale force winds, but I don't want really slow winds. So right now we're making about 3.5 knots through the water. No, it's okay. It's okay. We'll get there slowly but surely. The prediction was to have stronger winds today and really good winds tomorrow. I don't know if I want them really, really good. When it hits 15, 20, that's enough for me. I don't need any more. I'll be reefing down if it does that. So for the moment, we passed Flagler Beach 2 hours ago. So whatever beach that is over there, it's about. And then I have the Daytona Beach area to pass, New Smyrna Beach, and then I get into the space station and the Cape Canaveral. That'll be in the evening by the time I get there. So my goal is to round Cape Canaveral during the night shift. And in the morning when I wake up tomorrow, I hope to be well clear of the Cape, hugging the coast, making my final run into Fort Pierce. Probably get within, by Vero Beach, someplace like that. That's what I'm hoping for. But the trip down the St. Johns River went pretty darned well. Because I was with the current. This time I was trying to be very careful to time it with the current, because it's a 15 to 20 mile haul, and that's a long way to go if you're fighting the current the whole way. So I was very thankful to get, and you can do it by sitting in Jacksonville and watching the current. As soon as it started to turn and head down, I jumped on the water and left. Around 8:30 yesterday. So heck, I was hitting speeds of 7 knots on the way downriver. 7 knots with my engine RPMs that would get me normally about 4. So I was getting a 3.5 knot boost in some cases. So that's pretty cool to go fast like that. Yeah. So kind of an overcast day. At least broken anyway. Maybe that'll bust loose when the sun heats up the air. It's good to see the sun, because in the nighttime, it's I don't know. Funny things go through your head. I don't know. I'm not unhappy, but I don't feel thrilled about being out here. That's an interesting thought. I'm not angry or unhappy, or the weather's been okay. I only cursed at the wind twice, and I never cursed at the hydrovane at all. So it hasn't been a bad night. Excuse me. Maybe I'm just lonely. I don't know. Maybe I just need, I'm tired of being apart from my girlfriend. I think maybe that's part of it. Oh, I don't know. I kind of just felt off last night. Yesterday and last night just felt off. So it'll be good to get into Fort Pierce, and maybe I'll just stay a couple weeks and just chill out and wait for a really good window to get out to the Bahamas. I'm really not in a hurry. I'll step through the Bahamas quickly and then get south, baby, south. Getting ready to start night shift. That's a Thursday evening sunset over the Cape. There's the Cape Canaveral Space Center over there. And here is a night shift guy coming in to take a duty. When the weather's 85 degrees, you don't figure you'll be dressing like this, but that's the way it is. I got my long john t-shirt, my long john long sleeve shirt, my fleece cover jacket, and my jacket. Pants, I'm wearing my long johns underneath. And these are basically your rain suit. You know, to stop the wind from cutting through. Because it gets pretty damn cold around 3 a.m. when that wind is still blowing, even if it's in the 70s temperature-wise. So, as you look around, friggin' rolly. Oh my god. This is why they say don't put a go in the Gulf Stream with the north wind, because I think we're feeling a little bit of Gulf Stream. And these rollers we're getting not fun to deal with. Hoping that the wind lies down in another hour or so. Now that the sun is setting, usually the wind will die down a little. I could do with an hour of calm. Now with this motor, then. Okay, so first I'm going to show you. That's my speed right now. 4.7, you'll see it click up to 5.8. I've seen 7.3. I've seen some pretty good numbers. And that's where we're at. Off the coast of Florida. That's Cape Canaveral. There's a space center back there. I can see some rockets standing on the launch pad. Can't get a picture of things like that at night though. There's Fort Pierce right here. And I'm technically not aiming at Fort Pierce yet, but I need to wait until I get clear of this shoal area. A lot of people don't know that there's a lot of really shallow stuff off the Cape Canaveral, and off of many capes, of course. But so once I clear this area and get to about this point here, then I'm going to aim directly for Fort Pierce, and I should be there in about 10 hours if this speed holds up. If I can keep knocking out 6.5, 7 knots. Boy. I'm not a good enough sailor to deserve that kind of speed, but I think I finally found, oh my gosh, I think I finally found the sweet spot with this boat doing a broad reach. You know, I struggled earlier in the day, wow, trying to find out what sail combination works better for this boat, you know. Excuse me, and it's just 8. But I gotta announce, I've got the mainsail set with one reef in it, and I have it sheeted pretty far out on the starboard side, and I use a preventer to lock it in place so the boom can't move, and so it's pretty safe setup for me. I experimented a lot with the head sail. I tried no head sail, but that didn't work out well because the weather helm is too strong with just the mainsail. It really wants to turn the boat to port. So I have just enough of the head sail out to help balance the boat. And Agatha, the hydrovane, she's working great. And I'm sitting here cruising along, making anywhere, like you saw it, from 5 to 7 knots. And I've got about 60 miles to go. So it's 9 p.m. now, I think. So I'll be there certainly before lunch tomorrow. I mean, unless the wind dies or something. But my comfortable place is right here at the helm, facing forward, and helping everything behave. So just kind of watch, make sure, I mean, with the hydrovane, you tend to wander a lot, you know, on the course, but the overall heading, you kind of, you know, the middle ground, the average is what you're looking for. Ooh, I got a sweet spot right now where Agatha is happy and the winds are brisk, but not scary brisk, you know. And the swell has died down now that we're cleared past most of that shoal area. So I think it should be a pretty good evening for me for the next 8 hours. Well, this stuff moved around, but that's about the only damage or things that were gear adrift, with the notable exception of my table, which completely ripped off. Damn it. So I just gotta do a repair, and instead of using wood screws, I'll do through bolts, and I think that'll solve the problem, but it's still embarrassing. I designed that, I installed it, and it broke loose. And that happened in the St. Johns River inlet. The rollers were just freaking enormous. Yeah, the waves in the inlets are pretty awesome, and the St. Johns River rollers, the swell, whatever you want to call it, in the inlet where the inrushing wind is trying to blow the water into the river, and the river's downward current is trying to push the water out, and it just gets very rolly. Doesn't help that really big ships go through there really quickly as well, and their weight turns it up quite a bit. And that's when the table fell off. I heard the crash and didn't investigate until much later in the evening, but rework. So one thing I always do at the end of every trip is see what kind of things they're strewn about on the deck. So these are the parts I found. So you're thinking, what are they? Well, these are pieces of a pulley wheel. Now, we don't call them pulleys on boats. We call them blocks. And this appears to be the end of a rivet, which is not good. And I found that. So I found the rivet over here, and just laying on the side. They tend to collect up in there, so it didn't go down the drain, which was good. So I found the rivet, and over here is where I found the pulley pieces. So the question is, where did the rivet come from? So something either fell off or is about to fall off. So I'm going to have to shake out the sail, I think, in order to inspect the boom, because I got the way I have the sail, I took it down from a reefed condition, so it's kind of going to be very hard to unbundle that, but it's so windy I can't put the sail up, so got to think about that. Okay guys, so thank you for watching. I appreciate your comments as always. In addition to the rivet and the broken pulley wheel, if I can find replacement wheels, I'll get around to fixing that, and in the meantime I might just swap one for another. I don't know what I'm going to do there exactly yet. But the big news of the day is, the hurricane is coming. So tropical storm slash hurricane Nicole is going to be here. We're going to start feeling the impacts Wednesday evening into Thursday, all day Thursday, and if it goes ashore on the east coast of Florida like it's supposed to, it's going to be a slow-moving beast. So we're expecting strong winds to continue. We've got them already, in fact. It's already pretty robust. 20-25 knot winds blowing out of the northeast right now. That'll get stronger all the way through Friday, and by Saturday and Sunday it looks like it's finally going to be over with. The question, of course, is, does it make landfall south of us or north of us? If it's north of us, that's better for me, because that'll mean with the counterclockwise rotation, the winds south of landfall will be offshore. That is, they're blowing from the west, and that's much easier for me. It'll be a much lower speed. If you're south of the landfall location, you'll get the brunt of the full speed of the hurricane and of the winds inside. So better if I had the storm pass north of by Daytona. That would really suit me just fine. But we don't control that. So what you do is you make your best preps you can for dealing with the strong winds, and you do that by reducing topside windage so that there's less aerodynamic drag on the boat, so that there's less force on the anchor, and you're less likely to drag through the mud. This is good holding ground, but I mean, there's a limit, and if it's 70, 80 miles an hour wind, I think we're going to be dragging in here. If not me, somebody else. And then there's a boat who's right upriver or upwind of me. Assuming it's north winds, he'd be directly upwind. And if he drug anchor, he'd drag downwind and bump into me, and then put twice the force on my anchor, and then I'll probably start dragging into the guy who's downwind of me. And it can be like a daisy chain that way, and pretty soon you got 5 or 6 boats piled up against the south shore. And that is one of the very possible outcomes of the storm. We don't know yet. We don't even know what direction it's going to come from yet. We probably won't have a good feel on the track until Wednesday night, Thursday afternoon. So we'll just see. And I've already done 90% of my preps. So I'm going to flood the dinghy as usual, and I'll take the engine off as usual, and I'll remove. I think I will remove the canvas, David. I didn't want to when I saw your suggestion, but I will go up there this afternoon and take down the canvas. My 4 diesel jerry cans are still on deck. I'm going to bring them inside. And then that's about all I can do. I've got the spare anchor ready to throw at a moment's notice. And all you can do is have your anchor alarm set, so anchor drag alarm set, so that if you drag, you can be on it within 2 to 3 minutes, have the engine going. And the basic plan would be drive towards your anchor, pick it up if possible, Very difficult when you're single-handed, and then try to get the anchor reset. That's about all you can do. And in my case, depending where the wind was coming from, you would try to get the anchor picked up and then drive the boat into the high shore. Almost run myself aground intentionally on the windward side. You know, and I don't know what else to do. You know, I mean, because it's a very tight spot. It's not even a half mile across in this cove, north to south. So we don't have a lot of room. There's not going to be a lot of time to respond. So the key is to be awake most of the time. So it'll be a long couple of days. Take naps today when you can. Take naps when it's quiet, and be awake during the night if possible. So anyway, none of that's a bitch, none of that's a complaint. That's what I signed up for, and that's what I gave to myself when I left Jacksonville when I did. And I'm not going to even bother, regretting, the decision to leave Jacksonville. It's water under the bridge, and we're going to just keep facing forward in life. So we'll just see what happens. If the boat ends up aground and laying over on its side and flooding, I'm emotionally ready for that too. I've got a ditch bag ready to abandon the boat with the things that I must have with me to restart life. Because every possession I have is on the boat, I must point out. So, but trying to abandon with all of my tools and all of my dad's tools, it's just not reasonable. We'd have to come back and dive the boat for that if I flooded. But I don't think that'll happen. I think I'm more likely to end up aground somewhere, an upright position. That's what we think. So, have a great day. Wish me luck, and we'll get a quick video out next week after the storm has passed. I think by Saturday, Sunday, it should be all died down, and we'll know what we got. So, take care, guys. Bye.